So are you ready to go and grow to the next level? I'm talking about scaling your business. As a woman leader and entrepreneur, that is the secret sauce. And my next guest on La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living, is going to share her formula on my very special series called the Female Thought Leader Virtual Lounge. So stay tuned.
Frankie Lee, dimmi, qual è senso della vita?
The meaning of life is to live la dolce vita, which is the formula for fabulous living.
Hi, my name is Heather Picken, and welcome to the La Dolce Vita Show, the formula for fabulous living. I'm the catalyst in helping you to be more confident, create your dream business, and attract elite clients and live a fabulous life. Here's Heather helping you to upgrade your life to
Fabulous. Upgrade your life to fabulous. Right, Frankie? You're fabulous.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living. I know everyone gets a chuckle when I say that. And I'm a very serious woman, but I can be very playful because I think that's important in business. And I'm so inspired about this series that I'm doing because this is a special series called the Female Thought Leader Virtual Lounge, where I have gathered powerful women today, women leaders and entrepreneurs sharing their wisdom in some of the changing and challenging times. We're going to be talking about business development, talking about your team and how important it is to hire the right people. So I want to welcome Kelly Hatfield to my panel. So Kelly, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you so much for the invite, Heather.
Yeah, and Kelly, let's just start off with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Okay, terrific. So I have spent more time than I care to admit in recruiting, well over 20 years. And so my business partner and I have a business called Enginuity Advantage. Enginuity Advantage is a recruiting firm. Companies hire us to find their engineering talent. As a result of that business doing well and thriving, we kind of had an offshoot. We opened another business called Advantage Staffing Group, which does professional services placement. And then we also have a software third business called Enginuity Virtual Recruiter, which is the software. It's kind of a stopgap for companies looking to hire engineers. If they've tried the job boards, but they aren't quite ready for a recruiter, then Enginuity Virtual Recruiters for them. So I also host a podcast called The Absolute Advantage, where I talk with leaders and get their top tips, insights, and best practices for building and cultivating teams. So all really centered around people, helping people find new opportunities, helping companies find talent, and just building teams.
I love that. And, I want to keep with this theme about, dealing with change, challenge, building your business. As you build your business, you're going to have to get those right people on board. So let's talk about, what are some of those qualities and characteristics that we should be looking for as we're expanding our vision as leaders so that our brand can also exemplify who we're bringing in?
That's such a great question, Heather, and it's so different for everybody, depending on what your brand is. So what I would recommend people do, so when I'm sitting down with our clients, and maybe there isn't a lot of clarity around this very topic, it's take a close look at your organization. Look at your top performers within your organization. Who are they? What are those attributes? And you really want to pay close attention to your culture. So we're not necessarily talking about the technical side of things here and the hard skills of being able to perform the functions of the job. We're talking about people who are going to fit well into your culture. And so really you need to talk to the employees you have on board. And if you're not quite there yet, maybe you're hiring your first employee, then having a lot of clarity around what you want your business to feel like, your long-term vision and who's going to fit well into that picture. So I think that's really the best place for us to start anyway. For us, we're looking for people, for strong individuals who have that entrepreneurial spirit. And for us, a key component is empathy. We're in the business of people. So someone who can connect, put themselves in the shoes of the company that we're serving, of the candidate that they're trying to help and support, of your customer, whoever that may be. That's really critical, of your teammate, and understanding how what you do impacts them. So we're really big on empathy here, and that entrepreneurial spirit. And so those are just two of ours. We actually started with 20. So we sat down as a team as we started to get more clarity around our vision and our purpose and our focus. And we came up with 20 attributes. And we had a big cardboard cutout of Beyonce.
I love it.
And we were like, okay, who, in terms of just like being fierce and these top performers on our team, let's start throwing out attributes of what a top performer and what an achiever looks like. So it was an exercise we did as a group, and then we narrowed it down to the 10 attributes. And then we actually wove that into our performance process. So you're actually, what's the word that I'm looking for? Analyzed. Your performance review is, we look at that and we look at it up against those attributes on a scale of 1 to 10, and whether you're living and being that achiever. So you've got to get a lot of clarity around that first before you even start hiring, because you want to see it when it shows up, right? When the individual sits down in front of you, you want to be able to see it or not see it and keep on trucking. So anyway, long-winded answer, but I hope that was helpful.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting to kind of go back to what you were saying before about having a clear vision, because that's one of the things that I work with my clients, is having that clear vision. I was working, in fact, with a client who didn't have a clear vision. And what was happening is she was attracting bad people into her organization, and she had to end up firing one of her partners because it didn't match her vision, and someone else that was coming on board. So I love that you are focused on, know what your vision is, know what those attributes that are really, really important to the growth of your business. Because what are some of the things that you have found in your experience when, like, let's just say you're working with a company and they're not, maybe they've hired the wrong people, and then, just their business kind of falls apart?
It really does. Absolutely. And you see that happen all the time, because what tends to happen is A players don't like to work with C players. So they work with B players well, but they don't like to work with C players. So what ends up happening when you hire wrong is your A players leave because they don't want to cover for the C players. And isn't it interesting? And Heather, I know that you've seen this at your companies. I'm just using the C, B, and A as an easy reference point, regardless of kind of what your feelings are around that terminology. It's just easy to understand. But I know that you've seen this where does all of our attention seem to go as leaders? When we've got, it goes to the C players because they're problems. You're investing a lot of time in the C players, so to speak, and trying to fix and resolve things, that you forget about your A players. And really that's where you should be investing your time. Is with your A players and really cultivating their strengths and their talents. And because those C players just kind of drag things down, you will end up losing your A players as a result of it. And then, of course, there's so much to be said about your culture. You get, that saying we've all heard, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And it really just kind of breeds like a malignancy when you've got someone in there, because those attitudes attracts like. And so all of a sudden you kind of start to see this dynamic change. And then to what you just mentioned earlier, things fall apart.
Yeah, it's so true. I was telling one of my clients, it's like a cancer in your business, that if you've got those wrong people in there, it all falls apart. And, what about the language when you're hiring some people as far as what you should be looking for? For example, one of my clients, I was helping her to train her sales team, and she got triggered because she said, someone was using the language, we need to do this or we need to do that. And she's like, well, it's my business. I said, that's actually good that she said we, because that means she feels like she's part of the team. So do you watch that language when you're interviewing potential candidates?
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking for, there definitely are things that you're looking for. So once you have identified those attributes, you're designing specific questions that are going to pull out some of those attributes. So as somebody who is really team oriented, who's entrepreneurial in nature, they're going to be using that word we a lot through the discussion. If they're not, and they're using the word I a lot, that then is an indicator that you've got somebody who, could potentially be a prima donna, or someone who wants all of the attention and all of the accolades and maybe isn't a great team player. So you definitely want to make sure you design your interview questions to pull out those attributes that you're looking for. So if you're looking for somebody empathetic, then design a question to pull out whether this person is empathetic. Maybe a scenario that happened, this type of scenario happens at work, and what was your response to it? Because you want to see how the language, to your point, that people use as it directly relates to what's important to you and your business and your culture. So again, if teamwork's important, you want them to be using the term we.
No, I love that. Yeah. So and I think a lot of times, leaders don't really think about that. So that's why they would, join forces with you, get your expertise and find out like who is the best candidate to be working with my business. And let's talk about business growth, because I think a lot of times as like solopreneurs, they get into the bottleneck of their company and they don't realize that when they're hiring the right people, their business will actually grow and expand. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of having, not only having the right team, but hiring other people to take on specific roles?
Absolutely. And I can speak to this pain point from personal experience, because it was a real blind spot for me, and it was a stumbling block to growth early on in my business. So as a business owner, solopreneur, and this is your baby and you've created this, it's like nobody can do it better than you can, so you hold on to, well, that's at least what's happening in your mind. There absolutely is a part ego there. There's a level of accountability. Again, this is your baby and something you created. Let's be real here, control issues. So for me, I had something click. I had a mentor of mine, Darren Hardy. We were sitting down and he said, we were talking about this very topic of building a team, making sure that you are hiring for your weaknesses, so to offset your strengths. And he said, Kelly, so whatever task from now on, what I want you to be doing is any particular task that you're doing. He said, you need to be asking yourself, would you pay somebody X amount of dollars? So let's say in this case, I put the value on my time at, let's say $500 an hour. Let's just use that as a clean number. So ask yourself, would you pay somebody $500 an hour to do this task? And if the answer is no, then you need to be delegating that out. And the thing that I didn't really understand early on too is there are ways to do it where you don't have to make a huge investment. I mean, there's Upwork, there are all of these places and resources for you that as you're building your team initially, it doesn't have to be a W-2 employee. These are people that you can consult with, who can help you with projects. Let's say that you want support with your social media and starting your marketing ventures or beefing them up a bit. Then you can bring somebody on. I would recommend though, and this is a lesson that I learned the hard way, vet them and hire them and work with them just like you would if you were hiring an internal employee. That fit piece is important. You want to make sure that you really can collaborate with them and that they're the right person in terms of working with you, because I made some mistakes as far as that was concerned too. But I can't stress enough how important it is. As soon as I made that distinction in my brain and I started doing that, my business took off like a rocket. It was like, why didn't I do this sooner? I can't believe, it's like, why are you doing the accounting? You hate numbers. You know what I mean? That's not where your superpower is, so to speak. Your superpower is being out in front of clients and working with candidates and, earlier on in the business. And so for me, it was just really understanding what my strengths were so that I could spend all of my time focusing on that so that, let's say, that $500 per hour value per hour is being maximized and utilized to its full extent. And then outsourcing or hiring for the rest of the stuff. And you will find you're able to start hiring really quickly. It picks up momentum.
Absolutely. I found that to be true in my business. And when I'm coaching clients, I look at, well, what is the best possible thing that you could do, and looking at what your highest priorities are. So if you're looking at the highest priorities is always about generating sales or getting in front of, the right clients or whatever, working on things that, like you said, putting a dollar amount to that, because if you're doing things that are lower priority, you're going to be fed up, frustrated, and you're going to feel stuck in your business. So I really want women that are listening, that are growing their businesses, that are showing up as leaders, saying that you don't have to do it all. There are resources out there, like you mentioned, that are low cost, that you can start to leverage your time and really expand your vision for your company, get into the creative flow. I'm a big believer in that. So thank you for mentioning that.
It was painful. It was hard to let stuff go. It was, but once I started, it was like just opening up the faucet, and it was like, oh, I get it. It all makes sense to me now. So, and again, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it's just been exponential growth. And I know it's as a result of me not spending time on those things that don't make sense for me to spend time on.
I love that. And you mentioned that you have a company that is an automated company with tech. What did you mention with a virtual recruiter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm just kind of curious. This is really exciting, that concept, because you look at businesses today, like in the tech space, that are predominantly male run. So, how did you come up with that idea? Like, what prompted you to say, "Wait a minute, there's a need for this, or we can do this"?
It was interesting. So my business partner, her name is April Taylor, and we were using products, so job boards, all these things initially. So the first 2 years of the business, before we hired any employees, it was just the two of us working together and recruiting for our clients. So we were using all of these tools, and we were always just so disappointed. It was always like, ugh, we could do this so much better. So it was like a dialogue that went on for 2 or 3 years. And then it was like, well, do you want to get serious about this? Let's start building something better. And so that's really where it came from. And the idea really evolved from there and grew into something much bigger than we had our initial idea or concept. But really, it was as a result of being frustrated with what was out there and knowing that we could do it better. And so just taking the next leap of faith and diving in and starting that business.
I love that. And did you have any experience working in technology, or how did that evolve?
No, and that was a huge challenge. And, in full transparency, for us, we were used to knowing everything related to recruiting. I mean, we know that inside and out and can do it in our sleep. So picking the right partner, and this is what I was mentioning earlier about, I was kind of alluding to this particular business, and making sure that you're picking a partner and partners who've got the knowledge and expertise that you need. And for us, it was like, well, we don't know if they have the knowledge or expertise because neither of our backgrounds are in technical. So we really kind of gathered a close-knit circle of people. We interviewed and spoke with and collaborated with people in the tech space we were like, will you look at this for us and tell us what we need? Who we need, the type of talent we need to hire to build this. And so that's really what came as a result of that. But we didn't know. It was just like, okay, we'll figure it out. And that's what we've kind of done along the way. And I will say too, though, figuring it out can get expensive. In this particular case, when we're talking about the technology side of things, and if you aren't being guided correctly. And so it's been an absolute learning experience for us, that's for sure, but really exciting, and talk about an education.
I love that. I love that you weren't afraid to go after that, because, now more than ever, technology is advancing. Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, it's predominantly male. So my mission and purpose is to help more women and leaders just like you get on that cutting edge and really have a voice. Let's create an equal playing field here so that, yes, they're not, taking over the world.
Right. Exactly. I love it.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious with, because we're talking about in this female thought leader virtual lounge, some of the challenges and changing times today. Let's talk about where you see technology going in the future. Like what is your thought process and where do you see it evolving?
I can really just speak to that from my standpoint of the recruiter and how I've seen it evolve since the time that I've been in recruiting and the direction I see it going in. So for me, when we first started out, I mean, if you wanted to know something, you went to the library, to find out. There was no Google. We didn't have Google at our fingertips. We used fax machines. There wasn't the internet. So to have seen it evolve to the pace that it has evolved. And one of the main trends that I'm seeing right now is we've got a lot of companies out there who are still stuck in those traditional recruiting methods, posting a job, hoping that somebody's going to see it and submit information. And we're not in that kind of a market anymore. The other piece too is, so you've got these individuals who are currently employed and you need to attract them to your business. And this is where the technology piece comes in. Companies need to do a much better job. There's some companies who are doing it awesome out there, but for the most part, of doing a great job of conveying their culture, using social media to do a good job of conveying their culture, their brand. What community events are you involved in? What awards are you winning? Video at your, testimonials of your employees who love working for your company. So we've really seen, I think video is going to be huge as we continue to move forward as it relates to recruiting and as a tool in recruiting. We're already seeing it, but I think it'll advance even further. So I think companies using and leveraging the internet, because just like you're going out and researching candidates for your company, they're doing the same of you, and employees are in the driver's seat now. It's a candidate-driven market, and so doing a better job of really recruitment marketing versus traditional marketing. So taking those principles from your business development and building your pipeline, doing the same thing and building a recruiting pipeline. So you're using the same principles that you would in business development, but your customer in this case is the candidate. So you're trying to attract talent to your business. And so to do that, you're using all of this technology. You also need to make sure that from a technology standpoint, 52% of job seekers are using their mobile devices to apply, to submit their information and everything. So there's a lot of companies who don't have their information, who don't have their websites mobile friendly, which
yes.
if you're looking at a millennial and they go to apply for your company and they can't do it on their mobile site, on your mobile site, you've just lost, a potential fantastic employee. And it kind of says something too. They're huge on technology. If you're behind there's a perception piece here, right? So if you're behind the 8 ball and you're not up to date on the technology side of things, does that mean overall as a company you're not up to date on technology? And is that a company I would want to work for? So do you see what I mean?
Yes.
From a perception standpoint. So we're seeing these things, none of this stuff was in play early on when I started. And again, it just continues to evolve and get more and more prevalent and more important as a company to really leverage this technology in your favor to attract talent to your company.
Right. So embracing technology as we're evolving in society and our businesses is really critical for growth.
Absolutely it is. Yeah, definitely. And if you want to compete at the level, if you want to attract top talent and you've got competitors in your local marketplace that you're recruiting from, you've got to make sure that all of these things that I just mentioned and that your brand is congruent. Your candidate facing web pages do a good job of marketing your company and your culture and saying, yeah, that's a company I would want to work for. On a side note to that though, like if your company is like I love Netflix. Netflix, they're right there on the front facing page of their website for job seekers is Netflix isn't for everyone. And that's perfect. Like you want to repel people you don't want and attract the people you do. And that's where those attributes come in. But anyway, I think getting your website so that all those candidate-facing pages do a good job of marketing your company and your culture is critical.
I love that. I love what you're saying. Yeah, getting up to date with social media, video, and then also realizing, like, even in a business, like, not everyone is your ideal client or customer. So going back to the clarity of your vision, mission, and purpose is so key. I know for my business, I'm very clear on who I want to work with and who I don't. And a lot of that is just kind of, past experience. That's how we learn and grow.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Kelly, this has been so powerful. I thank you so much for being part of my special panel. And before we leave, can you share with us your URL and any other final words before we go today?
Sure. So you can get in touch with me. Our URL is ingenuityadvantage.com, and that's ENGINUITY, advantage.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. So track me down that way. You can find me at advantagestaffing.com as well. That's another one of our companies. But no, I would love to connect with anyone. And I think just for any women out there who are, really just looking to take their business and level up their business, I think the advice that we talked about earlier, which is the sooner, as women, we feel the need to do everything. We take care of everything. We wear all of these hats. And so when it's time to look at your business and start delegating some of those things away and letting some of that go, it's so freeing. And as soon as it's scary as heck, but as soon as you start to do it, the world opens up and your business really does grow as a result of it. At least that was my experience. So I would say for all of you that are out there wearing so many hats, take a close look at your business and start to delegate some of those things that don't make sense for you to use that valuable time. And if it isn't aligned with your superpower, then try to outsource it and get it off your plate.
I love that. Well, Kelly, thank you again for being my guest.
Yes, thank you, Heather. I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I just want to give a quick shout out for people who are watching or listening. Make sure you go over on iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe, because I'm a woman on a mission to empower women, leaders, and entrepreneurs to own their power, own their greatness, and master every area of their lives so we can really create transformation in the world, because that's what it's all about. So I hope you found this series to be empowering and inspiring, and take action. Use these strategies that Kelly is speaking about, because they work if you want to grow to the next level of your business and truly be that trailblazer and leader. Until next time, this is Heather Picken with La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living. Take care, everyone. So if you found this show to be fabulous, please share with your fabulous friends, rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. And I'll make sure I take a beatbox lesson, right? Or give my little chihuahua a bone. That's me. Fabulous.